All right, Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with Tali from Nicarus, and just want to say thank you for doing this at the crack of dawn your time. So I appreciate that very, very much. I know it's like 2 a.m. your time, so
It is. Thank you for having me. It's fun. I'm anyway not sleeping, so that's okay.
not a problem. So I was
That's
really
cool.
impressed with the record, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk with you. It kind of gives me two elements of music I really like, so I kind of want to talk about both of them first, and then we'll dig into a little bit more about the music and things like that as well too. So it kind of reminds me, and I could be way off base and crazy, but hey, people have told me weirder things. That It reminds me of like 90s noise rock mixed with a lot of kind of like dark poppy post rock. So the best way I've explained it to friends of mine before I play it is imagine listening to like Jesus Lizard, but with having like
I love
Chelsea,
them.
yeah, and like having Chelsea Wolf sing with Jesus Lizard, and that's kind of
I
what I
know her. I've heard a lot because everyone like try to put that. I mean, I don't know, it's making sense because when you want to explain it and you want to use the terms that you know. So I've heard a lot of different genres in the last. I released it on the 8th to January, and already I'm hearing like I think beside of I don't know, beside of like electro gothic something, I've heard almost any genre possible to that music.
nice.
So I'm like, I'm okay, but I haven't, I don't know this artist that you've mentioned. Of course, I know Jesus Lizard because it's from a while back, and this is something that and God, Godflesh and
Yeah,
these guys. I grew up on that, but on that sound and Jisoo and all this good
yeah.
and yeah, neurosis and all this stuff. So that I can relate. If someone will tell me that they can feel the vibe in the music, that will be an awesome compliment, and it will make sense in a way because that was in the background of many winter driving in my car, and so it kind of got into my DNA. But all the other artists I've heard, all kind of female artists, I really don't know them, so maybe it somehow relate, but I just don't know to say. Yeah, I think I was reading in a few magazines. They wrote, if you like this and this artist, you might like Nicarus, and I'm like, I don't know them, but I guess there's something good in it because, if I should listen to it, but it's just that I really enjoy more of like instrumental music. I'm not really listening to a lot of vocals, only like really older stuff, and I'm talking about jazz music, and so that I enjoy the vocals a lot. But it's just that it's kind of interrupting for me, and I'm more like listening to the music the last couple of years. Um, yeah, but I did, and it's so funny because we're talking about the genre, so I have to tell you that right before we did that, I just received on Facebook. I'm also because I'm doing it all by myself. Then sometimes I'm wearing the hat of the label on my
Sure.
head, so I have to be that serious guy, label guy, who make all the right, promotions and all that. And then I have the artist hat at, times of the day. So my point, I was posting that album just came out. So I was posting that in few groups, and I'm getting a lot of love, and this is really awesome, and it's really cool. And I was posting it, and I thought, what the hell, Let's just post it in a few Israeli groups as well. Because I mean, I'm living here. It's kind of different here to get the vibe. But I said, hey, it's been a while. Maybe people change, and we should try that. And I and I sent it to one of the groups, the metal groups. They have like a Facebook metal,
Yeah.
group, and they send me back. They removed it because it's not
Oh,
metal. So I
aw.
said, okay, I don't consider myself metal. I really am not. Maybe I'm a pop, but you can't deny the fact that there are like really harsh sounds in it and guitars and heavy. I'm not sure that will be welcomed in a pop group, right? So obviously we can think about it more than metal. underground kind of music. So I've posted there, and they removed it because it's not metal enough. And I'm like, okay, never mind. And but that's funny, talking about genres that everyone is kind of like taking it, and I'm not even sure they listen to it. Maybe that's why, because I'm smiling and all that. Maybe they thought I'm not that. I don't know. Maybe they didn't even listen to the music. So I'm just, oh my God,
It
that's
really
fine.
just it really just depends on what metal fans monitoring or being the moderator of that group, because like I mean I listen to extreme I play in a doom metal band and I love your band, so that's complete garbage. Like some people are gonna go all different directions with it. But like I say, it's just gonna depend on who does it. But as far as people around me, they've all had favorable responses so far. So I will tell you that like
Awesome. Thank
uh
you.
yeah, the record so the record kind of, I'd say, borders on metal. Um, but like I said, it's more like, it's more noise rock and kind of, and I'm telling you, like the dark pop fans out there will really like this record because there's some really kind of like almost goth pop kind of moments on it where I think you would
All right.
really, yeah, where I think they would really dig it. But I kind of wanted to ask about the record title, because it's pretty interesting. Like cold people, cold puppets. Like, what does that mean, and why is the record named that?
It's hard to answer that, not because it's not a good question, but because it's actually a very good one. I just don't know. Things are coming sometimes to as an idea, as like sometimes it's coming as pictures. Sometimes I dream about stuff, and sometimes I have a lot of like daydream when I just stare at stuff, and words are playing in my mind. I guess that the vibe, what I felt, is like how everything is kind of dead, and it's so hard. You have to play the game all the time of being normal, or else you just can't survive this world. And once in a while, you're just like, I can't do that anymore. And this is when all these, images are coming, and I guess this is like it's the whole album came from like very dark um, times when I just couldn't cope with reality anymore the way that I could before. Like I had not as much tolerance to a lot of stuff that before that I could. This is, I guess, when you're going through something, or events in your life, and sometimes for me there's a lot of things happen at the same time, and this is when the brain is like, okay, I'm just not dealing with it anymore. So I had really rough times, and all these lyrics and images and everything just came together. And I'm guessing if I need to explain my mind when it came, then that it was the way I felt everything around me to be. So
Okay, no, that's great. I just was trying to. That's a good
that's
explanation.
the best I can come up with.
It's great. So I want to talk about you being in Israel, and I kind of have a point with you because I have a really good friend. His name is Michael. He's in a noise project, a pretty known noise project called Cadaver in Israel as well too.
Oh,
And
he was a client of mine in my studio. When I had a studio, he was playing. I had a recording studio in Tel Aviv, so he was coming to play. Yeah, I know the guy. Of course, he's in the noise scene for many years. Very talented guy.
yeah, so he and I are doing a record on a label called Aesthetic Death out of the UK this year. So we have a collab together. So I
Nice.
kind of talked to him a little bit about you because I knew that he
Uh,
knew you a little bit. So
I
I
hope he
asked him,
said good stuff.
he, there was nothing negative. So yeah, it was
Okay,
all
good.
good. It was all good. I kind of wanted to ask you, what's your thoughts on the Israeli music scene for the underground? Because his is one of not very much promise. It's pretty stagnant. He said it's not really like, if you're an underground artist, you don't have many opportunities there. And you really have to go elsewhere to have opportunities. How do you feel about it being an independent musician in Israel right now?
Yeah, I can understand where he comes from. It's very difficult for me to say because I was never having any kind of scene. I mean, I was too much pop. You know what I just told you? It's like a great example for me. In Israel, that's a great example. What I told you about the guys who removed
Yeah.
my post because it's not metal. You know, so it's like I'm too pop for the metal. I'm too metal for the pop. I'm too rock for this, and I'm not to that. And then you like and post rock. We can talk about that, but post metal and post rock just came really late to Israel,
Gotcha.
and there are like two people who listen to it, and maybe a cat, like five people of us who are listening to that today, maybe a little bit more. And when Facebook was invented, then you can find these groups, and in these groups you can find the people. But then you're like, oh, I know you from that place. Everyone kind of like know everyone, and it's very hard because of that to preserve the artist persona without being judged. It's really, really, there's a lot of cynicism against art and artists and music. It's global, yes, but imagine that. The best way I can tell you is just imagine that in a prison cell with five people. So
Okay.
everything that goes global, put that now in a prison cell with five people. Everyone is tired, exhausted, depressed, and now you're gonna talk with them about, they care about what they do. They want to be free, and so sometimes it's a little bit like that. But then on the other hand, people doing very creative things because of that, and there's a lot of good stuff going on. When we had opportunity to have shows, that would be very easy. There's a lot of creativity, and there's a lot of people very have commitment to what they're doing, to the process, and to a point of a bit of crazy. And I have that too, when you're getting maniac and you're not open to hear criticism, and you're not open to that. And I'm kind of like learned to have jokes about it. I'm talking about my album like my baby, and if you're going to say something bad about my baby, then I'm going to come after you. I'm kind of making jokes because it's easier for me. But yeah, there's a lot of that. And so just about what you said about opportunities, it really depends what you're looking for. I believe that if you have a vision and you know where you want to go, then you can find a way. It's just that a lot of people just don't have that. They don't really know what they want. And then they go outside and they see there's a lot of people doing a lot of amazing stuff. And then there's two ways: or they're getting in panic that they're not, the only one, or they're like, okay, it's not affecting me what I want to do, and I'm going to get where I want to get. So, for me, it's just that I really knew what kind of music I knew what I want to do. So I still do. And though, every time writing music, I never know what's going to happen, right? But it's more like, I'm not talking about the creative process. I'm talking about music, the way you can just allow yourself to make music all the time
Mhm.
without any external effects on you. And I found my way of doing that, and that's why I don't really care about opportunities, because I'm taking what I want to. I'm taking what I need. I needed to have a better way of making my visions to become a product. So I went and I invested a few years and I learned sound engineering, not because I'm an amazing engineer myself or because I'm that kind of nerd, even though I am a little bit. I have that part in me, but also I always been on stages. So what the hell engineer? Because I needed these tools to get to a better result.
Sure.
So my point is that opportunities are something that open to you when you're just, you know, go through what you need, and then things comes. It's like when you're really true to yourself. It's kind of like, I don't know if I'm, making
No, you're
sense. But the world is open. The world is open, and a lot of people doing amazing stuff. So if you want to do something and just, you go and do that. So I don't see that this way. I mean, I can understand why he see that this way. It's really easy to fall into negativity. It really is. But when you think about how everyone is busy with their own creations, so, just be busy with what you do, and that's what I'm doing. And that's just going to be part of probably what you want to ask about me being a one woman band. I didn't want to do all that. I didn't want to do the guitars. I didn't want to do the bass. I didn't want to do all that. I didn't want to be alone. My dream was having a band when I was
Sure.
18 years old. I was always with the guys. I wanted to have a band. I wanted to sing and have, make rock and roll. But then I pretty fast realized that people don't have that kind of psychotic OCD of being committed to music and to the music, to the process of music, like as a life, as a way of living.
Mm-hmm.
And I pretty fast realized that I'm alone. So I better, if it's like, or I'm giving up on that, or I'm gonna find a way. So I just started to, the EP I was releasing in 2019, Holy Son, Father, Spirit. That was taking me 10 years to create. I was starting to write that in, like, I think 2009 or 10.
Okay.
And I had to record, and then I found about new amps. So I deleted everything and I recorded again. And then I realized that I'm getting better on the guitar. So the guitar is not as good. So let's do the guitars again. And then let's do the bass again, because the bass was my ex. So by the time we finished the album, he was no longer part of my life. So I can't leave the bass. So I had to record the bass. So it took me like 10 years to create that album. But and then I said, okay, someone need to mix that. Now I've studied mixing engineering, so I'm going to do that, So it took me like 2 years or 3 years of a break. And then I was sitting down with the tracks after, I had bass that I was recording and singing and vocals and all that. And I said, like, now let's think about it like it's a client of mine. It's not me, it's a client of mine. And because of that break of 2 years or so, it was easier for me to just sit down and think about it like a client and make different decisions as I would do as an artist. You see, so as I was working on this album, I was basically getting a lot of skills. Mm-hmm. So when I was releasing Holy Son, Father Spirit in 2019, then I said, hell, if I did that, let's get another challenge. And now I want to make another album, but this time I'm not going to take 10 years. I'm going to make the same, same process, and I'm going to take all these mistakes that I've done in Holy Son, Father, Spirit. I'm going to try and get better results with sources, because the drums I was recording in when I was learning sound engineer. So I was recording that in the school where I was, learning. So I wanted to pay for a studio. So that was part of my project. I was taking my drummer at the time and I've put him in the room and I was recording him, putting mics and everything. And I was learning as I was doing that. And I got shitty sources. So I had a lot of work to do on the drums. Even though when I'm listening to that now, I can't believe how much process I needed to make to get to that result. But a lot of it, believe me. So I said, all right, now in Call People, Call Puppet, I'm going to get a better room. Now I'm going to pay for it, and so it's the same drummer. He's a guy who's working with me for both of these albums, Rom Gov, his name. He's a very talented drummer. So from the time he was recording for me, Holy Son, he got himself like a really good name. He moved to Austin, Texas. He got, signed and all, endorsements with all these companies. So he just came here and got to any shop he wanted, took all the drums, all this, everything, because he was by working with these companies, everything new, everything tip top. So I got better drummer because it's been like a while since I recorded him, like in 2013, I think it was, the drums. I got a better drummer. I got a better room because studio I was working with, I got better mics. I got, and I got a better songs. For my opinion, and everything got better. So once I had the drums set, which by the way, that's the thing I paid the most. All this making of this album, the drums are the part that I paid the most, because everything else I just took an amp from a friend and I recorded. I didn't pay anything. So that was fun, and as we go through, we learn who we are, and again, I wasn't as lucky to have the people around me to help me be who I am. And I'm more than just a singer. I always believe that I'm more than just like, okay, let's do a gig, sing something that I don't like and go back home. I wanted to do something very special and meaningful for me, that I can, all these thoughts that I have and all these ideas I can put somewhere. And a lot of people can make it through that glass ceiling, because like he said, we can't find opportunities. We can't. And I just really early knew that where I'm living, I could see around me. I knew who the guys around me. I could see how people are really getting give up on music. It's like not a first priority. And for me, that was who I am. I'm on stage since like I'm 6 years old. I've been a choir kid. So I was singing since I'm like 6 years old in choirs. I've been on stage. And once you taste the stage in such an early years, it's being part of who you are. And until you're not going back there, you're just being depressed all your life, because you've been tasting that rush and that adrenaline, and you want more of that. And I see myself as like I took a break of 20 years of my life to create something that I can go back to stage. That's exactly what I did. And I just had to find a way, and I did. And now, I have more challenges that I want to for the future and for next recordings and all that. But it's like, I'm a one-woman band. I'm fine with it. It's really okay. And I got, where I wanted to be. Maybe that's exactly where I needed to be.
So that's what I was going to kind of ask is I see that you kind of did everything but the drums. And as far as Ram himself, does he help collaborate with the songs at all, or are they all your
No,
creations?
what I love about him, that he's such a pro drummer. Um, when it comes to, when you record, you want to have a drummer who hit exactly the same. Like everything have to be very precise, the feel and everything. He works with the metronome. He's like super tight. He's super tight. And what I love about him, that we know how to work together in a way that I'm like, okay, I'm writing the drums part. So I'm like working with MIDI. I'm working with some, I forgot the name of that now. Never mind. I'm working with these drums. It's gonna come, but I forgot. And I'm just writing everything, exactly what I wanted to have. Now I'm sending that to him, but the way I love to work is never be like, you got to do exactly that, because I think I'm losing a drummer when I'm doing that. I could just leave the MIDI. I told him, and I always did that also in the first album. I said, look, you're the drummer. Whatever you're gonna bring on, bring on. I trust, because he's so sweet. I love Rom, and he's so sweet. He's so, even though he's working with really big names now and, recording in his own studio and all that, it was so important for him that I will be happy that he insisted to make a Skype like we're doing now, talk with me before he even came to Israel for the session, to make sure that he understand what I want. And I just like, look, we don't need that. I trust you. And he said, like, no, we have to. So we did, even though we didn't even talk about the drums. We just talked about everything else. And then he came here, and the way we worked, it just like he was sitting before each song in the studio, in the control room with me, and he said, look, I was thinking maybe to do here taka 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 doom, taka taka doom. It's pretty the same like what you wrote, but I'm doing with the crush here. And I said, okay, let's give it a try. And he's getting in and he's doing that. And it sounded good, like each song. If I had notes, like things that really taking it out of the song, I could just tell him, like, maybe you can go through like the hired, or just do this da 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 doom, then bug it. And this is the kind of conversation. So I let him I let him express the ideas that he had. If it was too different on the vibe, I did just direct him through what I want. But I hate to take a drummer and tell them like you have to do this, because they can bring up good ideas. So he was pretty tight with what I wrote. Like he was really like, if I'm listening to the MIDI and what he did, it was pretty tight with what I wrote. Here and there, maybe the thing that it's really hard to do on MIDI, all these feels and all that. That's obviously it was easier to just communicate that on spot.
Cool.
Yeah, we had a lot of coffee, and that was good.
No, that's awesome.
That's all you need. You have a lot of coffee and good attitude, and then you can come up with an album in an hour, and that's how it should be.
I've been there before. Trust me, I totally understand.
That's right.
But so I kind of want to talk about one song in particular on the record. And to me, if there was one song that you could pull off the record and kind of give a example of your sound or who you are, that's going to be The Architect of Grime. All
Oh
right.
yeah, all right.
And the reason why is it almost mixes all the elements on that record in one song, in my opinion. Like
Awesome.
there's so many different layers of what you do on there. And the thing I totally like about this record again is it's not safe. Like you never know what the next part's going to be. Like some bands you can kind of just go, okay, it's going to be the heavy part here, or it's going to be a mellower part here, or it's going to be like a more bluesy part here. And that's not the way this record works at all.
Yeah.
And that song, yeah, and that song in general, um, the best way I would explain it is wonderful chaos. Like that's
Thank
kind of
you.
yeah, that's kind of the
That's
way
amazing.
yeah,
I
yeah, it
should take
is.
you with me everywhere you go so you can talk, so to explain what I did there, because I don't know to explain it.
Well,
Um,
you talk about
that's
that song in particular, I'd really love you to do that just simply because that song seems to encapsulate the whole record, in my opinion. So,
that's awesome, and thank you so much for all that. And I it's like wow, to talk about that song, so many nights of insomnia, of not sleeping, and I have days that I can't remember. And that's part of it. It's like you have to be a little bit of crazy, and because I'm not in $1 million studio. That's what people need to understand. That's why, like, before you're making a review or something, just notice all the details. Like, I'm not sitting in a $1 million studio. I had a lot of issues with that. My Mac is old. I had nights that I wanted to die because it's stuck and it's not working, and I had to restart. And you probably know all about it.
yeah,
So yeah, we all go through stuff like that. I have like my old converter is like from the 90s. It's like DigiDesign. It's a company that not even
yeah,
exists anymore, you know. And and I was like, and I was suffering. So a lot of suffer. It's like the suffer of creation, and then you get some. It's just like having labors. It's like, I mean, it's like being pregnant. It's really what it is. You go through so much suffer. And but that's the fun, when you get high after that. I'm walking around like princess, feeling so well. Everyone's telling me I'm shining, just like people having after they're having a baby. It's exactly how it feels. So that song in particular, I don't know to tell you if it's any different from any of the songs. It's true that each one of them have this like um, identity, if you like. This song is a bit more. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I need to think about that a little bit because I was when I'm writing, I just let it flow. So the whole song though is really about some kind of like. I believe that in my past life, I've been probably a witch, and I was suffering a lot, and my soul was going through something, and the album as a whole is about that. It's not just that song, but I think that song in particular is really extreme into that. It's like my soul from past like millions of years ago was shouting through the whole album, and that song as well. Yeah, I know why. I can see why you're saying what you're saying. It was.
No,
Um,
that's perfect. Like I said, you don't need to go any deeper or further into it. That I just kind of wanted to get your explanation, and that was
sure.
really good. So no, that was awesome. So I'm going to ask you because we're kind of having a really interesting conversation here. And I would really like to know. So if somebody was about to listen to the record for the very first time and had never heard you before, how would you explain it to them?
I would probably just stare at them like that. I just music is exactly the place where words are, fails to say. I would say don't listen to it if you need me to explain it to you. Because probably everything I'm gonna say is just not it's not gonna be true. Because again, music is a different language, and there's no words that I don't know myself. Like, I don't know myself. Maybe someone can explain to me, and then I say, every time I'm learning. I was listening to your review, and I was like, oh, really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Words are not as good as for explaining.
Okay.
It might probably take me an hour just to say like a lot of bunch of shit, and then they're gonna like, I don't want to listen to that anymore. So listen to it, and I mean, or don't. If you do, then I don't know. That's
Okay.
honestly
Okay.
that's the hardest question. I wasn't ready for that kind of
Well,
question.
none of my questions are going to be easy. I'm not that kind of person. So, um, like I said, I've listened to the record a bunch. Okay. And I kind of am going to ask you another question that you may be able to answer, you may not be able to answer. That's cool. I don't care. This so far, I really like the kind of dichotomy we got going on here. So you're just open and honest. That's great. So when I listen to the record, there's moments of absolute pain. There's moments of absolute hope. And then there's moments of absolute, and this is not being rude, this is actually being really nice, absolute fucking confusion. Okay? Because I will listen to certain parts of the record, and I swear to God, you may be just yelling directly at me. Like I feel like you're so angry in some parts of it, like you are literally just yelling at me directly. And sometimes I feel like I need to look away. But I kind of wanted to ask you, where did this fury come from? And that's why I kind of gave you the influences of Chelsea Wolfe and stuff like that, because she does the same thing. She gives me the same kind of vibe. Like, she creates art. She doesn't create music. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Um, I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from. It's just who I am. Um, I mean, sometimes I ask myself why I am who I am, and I'm not something else. I'm fascinated by these kind of questions, like I'm looking at other people. I'm looking at my sister, that she's so totally different than me. She's a doctor, like a vet, and
Mhm.
and the way the brain of other people works, I'm fascinated by that, and I'm always asking myself, is it like, am I crazy? Am I completely insane? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just like, maybe I am. I don't know. But so sometimes I'm trying to understand that as well about me. Again, the only thing I can say, it's probably something in the stars. You're born this way, um, and the fact that I was on stages from very young age, and everything I went through, I guess all life experiences, and what they're summon for you, and some, everyone life, I guess, is complicated in a way, but mine was too. And I guess that I was running to art all the time to escape from everything that going on around me. I am more sensitive than I want to admit that to myself. And because I'm always having myself like, I'm a badass, no one fuck with me. But it's something that you have to have if you want to survive the reality around you. But the truth is that it's a painful experience, life. It is. And there's a lot of things that um, some people are becoming ugly from the inside. Some people losing, who they are, and I just try not to do that, but it's like a scorpion that bite his own. I have that sometimes. I feel like everything is too much. So if I'm not doing that, if I'm not shouting it out, if I'm not singing it out, I don't know. I'm doing that from a very young age. I was a very weird kid. I was getting, I don't have to say it, but it's true. I, I was walking. I was walking while I was sleeping outside the house. Moonwalking, you call it? Yeah, something like that. I was getting naked inside a house and running, and my mom was shouting at me, and I was a very, very weird kid. I don't know all that stuff together. I guess it's just something that I do, and I'm trying not to get too much too wide because I'm afraid that I'll be like losing losing my sanity, the ones that left. So
So,
yeah, but um, men in general don't like to look at women suffer. Um, because they think it's not supposed to happen or something like that, or it scares them, and that's good. That's good. That's called sensitivity, and I'm happy that you felt this way, because I guess the problem is not when you look the other way. The problem, like when you look the other way and you don't care,
yeah,
that's, yeah. And there's a lot of music like that. There's a lot of music that don't have that sensitivity in it. By the way, that's the music that I can listen to,
yeah,
because
no, I agree.
because I just don't feel anything. And then I'm like, so I would go and learn medicine. I'm listening to music exactly so it will talk to me to these points where I'm not feeling comfortable,
Right.
when it's not easy, and then I can relate to it, because that's what music do. That's the point of art. If it's just like, oh, look at that beautiful riff, or look how pretty I'm playing on the guitar, it never talked to me. I was never impressed by that. I mean, it's impressive, but I am not me. Like, I'm just like, okay, it's boring. I like things that have impact. That's why I was and mentioning names like, Neurosis and
Oh,
all
yeah,
that stuff. And then I found it when I was like 18 or something years old. I was like, what is that? Okay, now we're talking about reality. This is real. Like, I dig that. I feel it. I know what they're talking about without not
oh yeah,
talking about the words. I
uh,
know what they're talking about. I
yeah.
mean, personality. I know what they're talking about. And then you're like, oh, I found friends. It's like soulmates that you find.
That's
Yeah.
completely funny because I went to see Neurosis on Through Silver and Blood for the very first time, and we got to the show, and I didn't know what to expect, and it was the heaviest, loudest, most concussive show I've ever seen in my life, literally to the point where it changed music for me forever. And it just happened to be that Steve Von Till was walking by at that moment in time, and I stopped him, and the only thing I said to him was, um, you caused me so much pain tonight that I have to go home, and write music. And he laughed and he said, let's go have a beer. And Steve and I literally talked for an hour and a half after that because he totally knew, just like you and I are talking right now, he totally knew what I meant. Like I was giving him the greatest praise in the world. So,
It is. And when you just said that, I felt relief. And I tell you why. Because when you said before that you looked away, there's a blame as an artist, that once in a while I feel that I'm like pouring my pain and all this negativity out. And sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not giving the right, like I'm not giving the right inspiration, and like, people listen to it, like maybe 15 years old girl listening to that, and I'm just giving her this bad vibes. And there's this feeling like, oh shit, what am I doing? Maybe I'm doing wrong. But then so I felt that panic again. And then you came up with this sentence when you said that you told him about the pain that made you write songs. And then I'm like, you know what? Yeah, if there's a place to get this out is in music. Like, you cannot avoid pain. Yes, of course I'm in pain, for a lot of stuff, and obviously this album can show that all the last years that I was in struggle. So it shows that, and I'm happy that I could do that in music and not just go around and kill people, because probably that's what I would do if I didn't have music. I probably would be like a great serial killer, because I'm very smart, and I can have like strategies, and I know how to connect dots, and I know, like, I could be an amazing serial killer, and I'm so happy that I don't need to be, because I have music, so I can get all this pain outside through that. So I guess that's why we are listening to this music, and that's why we're doing this, because some of us are just getting that.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go into a different place entirely right now. And I kind of want to talk about the album cover for a second. And this is probably the first time I'm going to be really blunt and direct. So I hope you're okay with this.
That's the only time you're being blunt and direct. I thought you've been all the way
Oh
to the.
no, I've been pretty just honest so far, but yeah, this is going to be fun. So I kind of want
All
to I
right.
want to see where we go. Um, so why this picture? What does it play into the actual record itself? Because when I look at the album, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see anything in this artwork that ties me to the music at hand.
All right, that actually I do have an answer for that, because I had to think about it when someone I had an interview to a magazine and they asked it, and then I had to think about it, and I had to put it all together. And there's actually a story
Cool.
on that picture. As the first, I'm gonna say that again, like I was having a dream to have a band. I'm having a dreams to always to collabs with people, and I wanted to have an artist to make the cover art of this album. I was looking for artists, like small artists. I'm not talking about big names, like Tool did. I'm talking about like really small that I can support and they can support, and like a win-win, creative part. And it just didn't happen. Like, I had this girl that I was supposed to do that, and she sent me some pictures, and I was so happy, even though it was not related to the music. I was like, yeah, she's having like great pictures. I can put that in the music. Awesome. And she got freaked out when I was putting that on my wall, and she was like, why are you putting that out there? I'm like, why does it matter? I'm gonna put that anyway when the album comes out. No, no. So the vibe went wrong. And I'm like, I'm always saying that when the vibe is wrong, it's just not supposed to happen. Like, things should or flow or not. There's no middle here. I mean, communication is the key for everything. But if it's not working, you can't, don't sell it, don't force it. Just, and it didn't work with anyone. So I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, in my mind, I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, what am I going to do? Like I'm always doing. I'm making art. This is what I do. So one of my other things that I love to do is to take pictures. I have a Canon camera, and I always go to my, I have a beautiful piece of beach here, and I hope I say it right, because I know there's beach and there's beach, and I'm not sure I'm saying. I hope I didn't curse anyone. So I went to the beach or whatever,
Beach.
and there's like, yes, and I was staring at the waves, and I'm always taking pictures there, and I have like millions of pictures of sunsets, and I love doing that. And once I was starting to work on this album, which is, again, it's a process of few years, but when the main of it, the last 2 years, um, I started to see like crows everywhere following me. It's like everywhere. Every time I went to sit somewhere, there were crows everywhere. And one of the times I said, like, I'm gonna take pictures of them. And I started to take a lot of pictures of crows. But when I started to, every time I tried to capture them, they were flying away, and I was pissed off. Like, I was like, today I'm gonna take pictures of crows. So I'm waiting, and I'm putting bread, I'm trying to lure them in, and nothing. They see me with the camera, and they're so smart. They're flying around, and they're not coming, so I can't take them a picture. The moment I was like giving up after like 2 hours of sitting with the camera like that, hiding for them, I just gave up, and I put the camera aside, and I just sit on the rock there. And then they came back, and they came when I was not without a camera, and they came and they sit right near me, and that's the first time. I know it's gonna sound psychotic, but that's the first time they started to talk to me. I was hearing them, the crows started to talk to me, and they said all kind of stuff, like understanding that came in my brain, like I could hear them talk. And they just said, all kind of understanding about who I am, about life, lessons, and you know the thing with how you force it, and when you're less expected, and we are not as stupid as you think, and you need to give nature more respect. Once you give it a little bit more respect, you understand that you get everything you want already. And it's hard for me to remember all that right now, but a lot of things came, and I was just saying thank you very much. Can I take a picture of you right now? And they did. And that was the first time they talked to me. Then one day after, or 2 days after, I went again to the same spot on the beach, and I was sitting down. The crow came right in front of me and started giving me a show on that bench there. So he started to give me a show, and this time he was started to talk to me. But he said, because I felt very I have this, just sometimes I feel very alone. You just can't avoid that. And he said, look at me, I'm alone, but I'm not really alone. We always travel as a group. So sometimes it seems like I'm alone here giving you a show, but I'm not really alone. Just remember that, something like that. And I was like, all right. And I took a picture of him, of that crow. He gave me a show. He moved around and did all that. So I took a picture of him, and when I looked at what I got, it seems like he had no head.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it the headless crow. I just gave that name to the picture. And that moment, I just knew it's going to be the cover. Because
Nice.
I was thinking that day, like, okay, what am I going to do with the cover? Maybe I should think about cover art. And the moment I saw that, I felt like that crow, because when I saw that, I felt like this headless crow standing alone in this reality around me, though I'm not really not having a head like people think. I'm actually the person who kept the head all this time. But for some people in some part of society, the majority, I might look like the one who lost her head. And it's just an illusion. When you try to capture the crow, when I was trying to capture how beautiful he is, I got a headless crow. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that. I felt like when you're trying to understand me or capture me, I might look like a headless crow. And I don't know, I just felt like that crow. And I immediately knew that the entire album is about my process of the last few years. It's like a little bit more personal, from what Holy Sound was, that was a bit more philosophical, if you like. And this one is more personal. So the entire album is more personal. So I also felt like that's the perfect, that's it. I found it. Like everything that led me to that point. And it's just like how it works.
No, awesome. That's a great story. So now it actually fits in my mind with the record. So that's even better. Um,
I'm
so
happy I was being able to give you that,
yeah, that's
part of the
awesome.
puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So I just have a couple more questions for you, and I'm going to kind of wrap things up a bit. But the next question I really kind of want to ask is, have you seen any reviews yet that have utterly either confused you or have uh elated you, like where like you were not ready for those comments in either way? Because I know when I get, so the reason why I ask is I say this all the time, is I literally I'm in a doom metal band, and we got a 0 out of 10 by a reviewer that literally said it was the worst record they had ever heard, and they don't know why it was even released. And then 3 days later, in Terrorizer magazine, we got a 9.5 out of 10 saying the exact opposite that he said entirely. So it's just subjective, I get it. But some things just hit you in really weird ways. So I was wondering if you've gotten any like diametrically opposing interviews yet.
I'm not reading those. It's only when I have to, someone like forcing me. I'm not reading those. I don't care. No, I'm
Okay.
not. Honestly, I don't care. I don't care because I know people, and I know. I mean, it's someone work, like they need to listen to music. I think that's the worst work that I can imagine myself having to have. Like, if you want to tell me what's worse, like we're working in a coal mine or being a review of music, but that's probably going to be a music reviewer, because it's kind of destroying. No, really, I think it's the worst work invented. I would be depressed. I would making like really drugs all day if I had to make reviews, because it's someone work. They need to listen to it, and they need to start and think what they think about it, and they need to reference that with other stuff, and they need to think about what they think about what they. I mean, it's just like I can't understand reviews, like the concept of review. Because if someone want to give a review, they're giving you a review. They're telling you, oh, look, I was listening to your album. I liked a lot that. Or, you know what? I don't know. I like your last one very well, because this one, or maybe I'm just going through something. I don't know. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything is legit, but it's got to be personal. Like review when someone is working in a magazine. I mean, it's cool. It's good. People love that shit. They read that. I didn't even know how much people read that until I started to, work with my PR guy and all that, because I realized I have to do it. People do that. Everyone is doing that. I never knew that this is part of music process. And I was like, okay, now I'm adult. I have to be serious about my art. I'm working so hard. I should reach people. And I did that. And there are all kind of reviews, and people write all kind of stuff. It's just weird to me. It's like a circus. I'm not taking it seriously in any way. But if if someone, like someone I know or someone I don't know, like people wrote me, that's more exciting for me. If you're asking me, like when someone is writing me a message, like a messenger, and he or she. I had a few of those said like, I really love this and that and that. I'm taking it seriously, even though sometimes I'm surprised that someone even sit down and listen, to something I did. It's just weird to me. But the concept is just weird to me. But when they do that, when they do write something like that, I'm like, all right, that's awesome that someone else is feeling that, and that just came through my body. All these ideas came through that and became a product. And yeah, I just don't reviews. I just don't.
That's fine.
Thank you for everyone who worked to write review, but I don't care.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely understandable. So my last question I ask everybody, and this is going to be my last question before I give you the floor. But like I said, I ask this question to everybody, and I just kind of get very drastically different answers. So if you can honestly answer this one, great. So
I'm
if
being honest here.
Okay, but yeah, but like I said, I understand that. But like I said, this one's really tough. I
Okay.
sometimes just get blank
So
stares.
let me take a sip of coffee before I have to get ready for this one.
All right. Um, so
I'm ready.
all right, so if you could have someone take your record, re-record it, and make it their own, what artist would you want that to be and why?
Holy crap. Well, they got to do it naked in the winter outside in the snow.
Okay.
That's my first kind of that's my demand.
Okay.
You got to do it naked outside in the snow, because if they really want to be doing that more painful than what I went through, that's the least that's the least of the demands. I have a few more things that I have to do in order to make it. But who I want it to be?
Yeah.
Oh my God, probably Tom Waits.
Okay.
Or I have a list now. I don't know, but yeah, that's the one who came out of my mind. He would take it to a very darker, but in a male version,
Okay.
dark male and very theatrical, and that's something I would like to hear. I would
Nice.
like to hear "Called People" by Tom Waits.
Gotcha. No, that'd be cool, especially in his deep husky voice. That'd be really,
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah, exactly.
That'd be really
Exactly.
cool. Yeah, just personally, I was thinking more of like a Nick Cave kind of doing something for you too.
Yeah,
Just
that would be awesome.
yeah. So, but very cool. So what I'm gonna do is for the last few minutes of this conversation that you and I had. I want to leave it for you to talk about the record, talk about what you're going to be doing, if there's any future music coming besides this record right now. Talk about how people can get the record. It's your floor for the next couple minutes.
Ooh, all right. Okay, so about what I'm doing now, there's a few things. There's two covers that I'm working on, because every time that I'm not having enough inspiration, it's just a great way. Sometimes I hear something and I think like I should take it and do something that I want to do with it. So I'm working on a heavier, really heavy doomy version for my guitar, Gently Weeps.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's so cool. It's so fun working on it. I'm working on that and a few other songs and writing all the time and lyrics and music, and there's a lot of stuff going on now when it comes to that and writing. And we are about to shoot a music video for Cold People, Cold Puppets, the song.
Okay.
And the thing is that it was supposed to be like long time ago, and it was supposed to be part of the premiere with the album. The problem is that the corona started and all this COVID-19, so we are rescheduling again and again and again. It's just like I'm having like a production team group on WhatsApp. Like I think 1 year now, we can't find now the time because they're putting us in lockdown every time we scheduled. So I'm hoping that it's going to happen. We scheduled again to February, and I think if no lockdown is going to happen, then we will be able to. I wrote a script. We have like a team, and I'm really excited about it. And it's a great for me. You know, I love doing music videos because it's like taking now also visually visions that I have and put them. So that's it. I love films, and I always was very attracted to that as well. As like poems and other stuff that inspire me. So you know, I had all these visions, like visuals in my head while I was writing that song, and I really wanted to make that already. So it's kind of tricky. There were a lot of things that I needed to consider, but it's fun and it's going to be awesome. So when it's going to happen. So I'm working on that. There's a lot of things to be waiting for when it comes to music and that music video from Nicarus. The album you can find, you know, you can have yourself. I'm a big lover of vinyls and records, like a real product for me. I mean, I never got attached to CDs. I always felt like it's like a fashion thing, like in between, you know. I still feel that way, even though it was like surviving like 10 years. I never felt like a CD is a real product. Not cassettes, not all that, but a record for me, it's like it's beyond time. It's like that's if you're thinking music, I think about records. That's how I see it. So I'm having the album available. If you buy it, you get also all the music on digital, which I have a lot to say about the digital world, but I'm not going to get into it right now. But yeah, so you know, Bandcamp and all these online places you can find all the streamers and all that stuff you can find at the album, and also on the website of Nicarus you can get the vinyl, and it's shipped to you from not from Israel, from the guy in Texas who print them like he's printing the album by hand, by order. So because I'm not holding any stock, and since I'm not, you know, selling like million of those, I see no reason to buy, you know, like to hold here a stock of like, I don't know, 1,000 or whatever. Yeah. So I'm just like by order, he's printing them and doing all the art, everything, and send them. So that's, I think it's very romantic to have an album that made especially for you.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Okay. No,
Yeah, that's about it about this album.
No, thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate it, Tali. Like I said,
thank you for your time.
oh no, absolutely. The record's phenomenal. I'll make sure that there's links to the website and to the Bandcamp so people can get it as well. And again, this is Clint from the Doorway too, hanging out with Tali. And thank you very much, and you have a great night.
Thank you.